What's up everyone, welcome to this proactive tutoring lesson. In this video, we're going to learn about functions, a very common topic on both the SAT and ACT. So let's get to it. So first, what is a function? A function is defined as a mathematical relationship between a set of inputs and a set of outputs. For example, let's say we have a function f of x is equal to x squared. This right here is a function. Because what we can do is we can plug in different inputs and we will get different outputs, right? So let's take x equals 2. Let's find f of 2. So f of 2, so we replace x with 2, right? So that means in our function, we replace every occurrence of x with 2. So this is just 2 squared is equal to 4. And this 2 right here is our input, and our 4 is our output. So we have an input of 2, we put it into a function, this function f of x, and we get an output of 4. So this is how functions work. So let's try this example. So you guys do this one on your own. Okay, so for this question, they give us f of x and they want to know the value of f of 3. So we know that f of x is equal to 5x squared minus 7 times 4x plus 3. And we want to know the value of f of 3. So we replace all occurrences of x with 3. So 5 times 3 squared minus 7 times 4 times 3 plus 3. And then we just evaluate this. So f of 3 equal to 5 times 3 squared, that's just 45, minus 7 times 4 times 3 plus 3 is just 15. And then this equals 45 minus 105. And keep in mind, if this question appears on the SAT calculator section or on the ACT, you can use a calculator. This question appeared on ACT, so you'd be able to use a calculator for this. And this simplifies to negative 60. So f of 3 is equal to j negative 60. Let's try another one. You guys do this one now. Okay, so we want to know for these 3 functions evaluated at these 3 points, which of the following are equal to 1? So let's look at number 1, f of negative 4. So on a graph, when we input a value of negative 4, right, that's right here, negative 4. So when we input a value of negative 4, what is our output? Our output is that point, which is 1. So f of negative 4 is equal to 1. Now let's try f of 3 halves. 3 halves is right here in the middle, right? That's 3 halves. So f of 3 halves, when we have an input of 3 halves, we have an output of what? The output is right here. That is also at y equals 1. Lastly, let's look at f of 3. f of 3 is right here, right? And then when we have an input of 3, we have an output of this point right here, which has a y-coordinate of 1 as well. All right, so we just look on the graph for our x-coordinates because our x-coordinates are our inputs, and then we input that into a function and we get an output, which is our y-coordinate. So which of the following are equal to 1? We see that all three of them are equal to 1. So our answer is choice D. Let's do another one. So try this one now. Okay, so we know that when 8 is entered, right, the output is 6. We know when 12 is entered, the output is 9. So for some function f, right, when we input a value of 8, we get 6. And when we input a value of 12, we get 9. So we need to know which of these functions represents f. So we want to know f equals what? This is what we want to find out. So we can simply just go through all the choices and plug in 8 and 12 and see which ones we get an output of 6 and 9. Right, so if we look at the first one, 3/4 n. So if we want to find 3/4 of 8, this is equal to 24 over 4, which is 6, which is what we want. Now we can look at 3/4 of 12, which is 36 over 4, which is 9, which is what we want. So we know that our answer is choice A. So for these questions, we have inputs, we have outputs, and we need to find the function. So you just plug in the inputs into the choices and see which ones will get you the correct output. So that's what we did for this question, and then we saw that choice A was the right answer. All right, here's our last one of the day. Okay, so which of the following equations represents this relationship between D and T? And we're given a data table. So similar to the previous question, we're given a set of inputs and outputs, and we need to find the function that represents this. And this is a very common question on both the SAT and ACT. So to answer this, we can just go through our choices. So let's look at choice A. All right, let's look at choice A. T plus 14. So if we look at 0, right, 0 plus 14, that gets us to 14. Is that what we want? Yes, right? Because we have 0 maps to 14 in our data table. So this is correct. Now let's look at 1. 1 plus 14. Right? 1 plus 14 is equal to 15. So when we have an input of 1, we'll get an output of 15. Is this what we want? Well, this is not what we want. Right? Because we want an output of 20, but instead we're getting an output of 15. So we know that A is wrong. Now let's look at B. 6t plus 8. So let's start with 0. 6 times 0 plus 8. And this is equal to 8. Is this the result that we want? Well, when we input a value of 0, we should get an output of 14. But what do we get? We get an output of 8. So therefore, we know that this is wrong. So we can eliminate B. Now let's look at C. 6t plus 14. So let's look at it, t equals 0. 6 times 0 plus 14. This is equal to 14. Is this what we want? Yes, this is what we want because 0 maps to 14 in our data table. So far, this is good. Now let's try 1. 6 times 1 plus 14. What is this equal to? This is equal to 20. Is this the desired result? Do we want 20 here? We do, right? Because 1 and 20, right here, when we have an input of 1, we have an output of 20. And this is exactly what we see here. And we can try we can try t equals 2 and see what we get for d. It's equal to 26. And you'll notice that in our data table, we have that 2 maps to 26. Right? And you'll see for 3, 4, and 5 also, it will be true and the correct input maps to the correct output. So we know that our answer to this question is C.